Now, it is going to be Envy on the defense, and yeah, they're going to go for the solo support composition. You know, a lot of people just not feeling the Zenyatta anymore. It is difficult to play him, right? You leave yourself vulnerable to the headshots, and also Transcendence, it doesn't heal through the headshots if you're squishy, so you don't get as much value as the Trance as you used to, and then with all the beef he takes, it's harder to try and get the right-click initial kill onto someone. Looks like Toronto Esports are going to go for a full all-out dive, though. Nero on the Genji, Dalton on the Tracer.
Yeah, this is all the teams here are playing to their strengths. We get to see Tailspin on the Junkrat in the back, Toronto playing if they play best, and of course Cruz on his most favorite hero of all time in Mercy. Cruz loves playing Mercy. Don't clip him and Adam on this, please.
Shu is going to be the third DPS for Toronto Esports as he goes for that Widowmaker. Oh, Nero gets caught as he tries to scale the wall, but the pellet's not quite connecting, so he survives for now. Dalton just trying his best to sneak it in.
Nice run about it, take it down. No! Tail flicks back the other way. That was so close. Envy able to hold on, but Shu, he's not satisfied. He's taken down two. He's broke this wide open here. Nero has more room to work with as he builds the blade, but Buds puts it into Shu, and Envy gets themselves out of fire, but man, that was close.
Yeah, those are two great picks. If they could have reset a little bit quicker. Now we do have, yeah, it looks like it is McGravy going back to taxi the Mercy on in quicker here. So there's no vulnerabilities really for Toronto to try and take advantage of. They go on in, but it's going to be Crack-a-Lack and dropping on low. He survives in the mech for now. Nero's still trying to find a way on in. Bud's able to grapple away from that Winston. Now he's on the high ground. Deflect does not allow him to get the shot onto Nero.
Toronto's getting poked down really heavily here. Cruz just barely able to get away with his life. Envy holding strong, and no, Cruz could not fully get away. And now Buds is on full cleanup, and Crack-a-Lack is just like, why did it take you so long? Send me back to base.
Now with this next fight though coming up, Toronto Esports, they've already tried 2 attempts at the dive as their next push. It should be around 210, 205. It's going to mean that Nero has a blade, and so without a Transcendence there, it's going to come down to someone like Shiny or Crimzo to try and shut it down. Or maybe even Tailspin with the Riptire. So a lot of tools online for Team Envy to stop this.
It's going to be a fun ultimate showdown here between the two. Whatever team wins is going to have huge momentum. Tailspin, very early tire here. This is risky because Toronto's had plenty of time to back out. That's why the OT trial here. In fact, the hero found Tailspin, but Tailspin got Shu. Both of them going to get res, so might not too much, but Toronto takes advantage of the chaos. Nero pulls the blade, and Dalton got fire in the middle of that. Envy just fully ruined in the aftermath, and I just think the tire was way too early.
It was early, and that left him just vulnerable to Nero picking him off, just getting in to the back line and taking him out with some very quick shurikens to the head. But because a lot of ultimates were used just to take points A, Toronto are not gonna have that opportunity to try and snowball really into the next point and be making a lot of swap offs. Buds goes over to the Hanzo, as we do have Crimzo now back onto the Zenyatta.
It is worth noting that, I mean, that was a decent defense from Envy. They pulled off about 2.5 minutes on the clock. By any metric, that's fine. They don't give Toronto momentum, so we're still in a perfectly fine spot here. Toronto's not really working with much. Axiom just going for a little bit of zap, but he zapped his Winston counterpart. Ooh, Crack-a-Lack. He's got himself got real low. Tailspin picked off by Shu, though, on the other end. He was pushing. Shu pushed a little bit harder. Now down Tracer, Toronto, they invest in Primal Rage. Crack-a-Lack is still really low as this goes on. Envy a little bit healthier. Dalton diving back, 92%. And Envy needs to get back to that point, but Crimzo punishes the Diva. And Envy now starting to make their inroads back on over, but what a bomb! Takes out 2. Vintage Dalton keeps it alive.
Took down 2, and Axiom was able to follow up on some fire. Axiom and Dalton now, they might be able to secure it as Nero comes on in. That's the first tick. But Envy will have an opportunity for the retake. It's going to be how good they can focus down any people trying to delay here on the point. Second tick was not secure, but here's the blade out.
Dragon from spawn, Buds lets it loose, and it gets Axiom some way, somehow. Wasn't able to get out of the way of the Dragon. Now down to Winston. Envy's had full time to get everyone back up. Dalton, man stranded. Can you save Private Dalton in the back? Down to no HP. Dropped the bomb, didn't really get much from it. But now says, it's fine, I gotta play it. I'm going against 2 with one swing. Anti-air, chasing down Mercy, fire. Barely able to get out of dodge. Tailspin's working around the outskirts here, but Toronto's healthier. Tailspin, though, still making it work. Tailspin still finding it, grabs another, and another. Tailspin
That is going to be Toronto Esports now backing away. Even though Nero was able to pick up 2, most crucially, he was not able to finish off Fire, who got the res onto Crimzo. They come back out, they've got the supports, they've got the orbs all out. Tailspin was able to just go completely unchained there. Now Buds is gonna go ahead and swap off as he makes his way onto the Brigitte here. Really wants to try and deal with Nero and Dalton, slow them down even more. But yeah, they've already done a good job of it. Toronto Esports are down to 2 minutes and 55 seconds.
Again, I don't really know if this is the greatest situation for Envy. In fact, I don't think in general they've been super comfortable on Brigitte ever. This is probably where they've looked the weakest. Toronto has a real opportunity here, playing the outskirts, breaking shields, Dalton rolling around. Nero got the better of Buds, proving that to an extent. Tail already down, a 6-on-3 coming in here for Toronto. Everything going their way. They force out the Transcends early from Crimzo, and Toronto just being surgical. Pulse Bomb comes out, connects, Buds out of there, and Toronto now real close to taking this point.
That's huge. They've got all 3 supports here. They have so much sustain due Toronto to continue this push. Now Dalton is on the hunt with his buddy, the Diva, Crack-a-Lack, chasing down Fire. And there is no one here really to try and contest them now. They're going to lose the Diva mech. We've got the Doomfist out. It hasn't come up with anything yet. And it's all Toronto Esports cleaning up Team Envy. The second tick in, the third tick. That will be 1:58 still left on the clock for Toronto Esports.
Look, I'm starting to get to a point for Envy where it's just like, you want to know a signal of how Envy's about to lose a point or lose a fight? They swap someone on the Brigitte. It has really not been their best look. Even when they've been able to make it work, it's not like, man, they're so good at playing Brigitte. It's like, well, I guess they barely made it happen. It's just not their strength for either Tail nor Buds.
And we saw early on, it was Buds on the Brigitte that went down first. And when you have these triple support setups, the team that loses the Brigitte is more than likely going to lose that fight because, well, she offers so much sustain, AoE sustain for everyone who is grouped up onto the point, and also all the CC. So it makes it that much more difficult for Tracers and Genjis. That's why you saw Nero make the swap as soon as he saw Buds make the swap. And Nero was actually getting the better of him, too, while they were on the point.
Envy now going to the attack of their own, and there's not really a lot of subtlety about what they're going for here. They're not doing some tricky change-ups in spawn. They're just going, hello. Okay, well, Shine It doesn't count. You already showed your hand. It's just like showing your hand in a card game and being like, see, look at this. Now I'm hiding. It's like, doesn't work that way. We already know what your team is running here. It is full-on dive.
It's going to be going into a solo support composition. Cruz, of course, that Mercy, so he should be their primary target here in the dive. But there's going to be a lot in the way that they have to try and manage, right? You got Dalton, of course, who can shut down a diver with a halt, and you've got with the hook, and then you've got the halts from Axiom that can really just shut down a Winston who's trying to leap on in, and there's always the worrying thought of jumping into a trap also. So it might be difficult for Team Envy here, as they do go for the full dive composition.
Looking for it here, and of course the key part is going to be how quick do you execute the dive? Do you idle in fear of the eraser, or do you find a way through and go in the first 20 seconds? And to be successful, it has to be the latter. Buds is already infiltrated. Let's see if they get more. Oh, well, Buds is already gone. Dalton has dealt with him.
Yeah, it looked like the halt might have slowed him down a little bit there. No, never mind. He was just caught out on the right-hand side. It might have been trapped there. So, yeah, already 30 seconds gone for this Envy push as they have to reset. I do like Shu, positioned way far back now. And as they don't have a Widowmaker on the opposite end, that just means Shu is free. No one's been able to make any inroads here. Alt hook, so much damage coming across. Nero with the double kill.
Envy's dive is a bit tortured right now. It has not been clean in the least. They're getting staggered repeatedly. Crack-a-lack though, might want to rein it in a bit. That was dangerous. Does go back in the nick of time, but already a minute off the clock.
Nero controlling so much space, controlling this choke point with the Junkrat now. He hasn't been getting that much damage across. He's only at 70% actually. One grenade connects there. And Shu takes out Buds.
Shu, Mr. Reliable, sends Shiny to the skies. Gets 2, flips the other way because he wants a better vantage point at Tailspin. Go for the 3-fer. Tail ends up running foul Dalton in the back. Toronto, awfully solid here so far.
The most worrying issue here is that there hasn't been even good poke. Coming out from Envy. So Buds is only at 72% towards the blade. Tailspin doesn't have his first pulse bomb yet, and Shiny is so far away from that Primal Rage that now that we're at the halfway mark of here on point A, they don't have a full
Shiny's getting blown up immediately. Nowhere to go there. The support wasn't there. Now they have to do this without a Winston in the beginning. Fire gets punished for going for the res. Bud's gunned down by Point Blank Widow. Nothing about this dive from Envy was remotely coordinated. Toronto got to lick their chops and just go to town.
Shu getting a little bit aggressive there. He didn't realize there was an enemy Winston behind him. Sound barrier is used, and now Tailspin is trying to bring this back in their favor. Cruz with the resurrection onto Shu might be able to get them that extra DPS to hold on.
Yeah, they had a last-moment surge there. Respawns are coming in, but Toronto just wasn't really moving that much. People got the point, but it's an illusion. It's like, we're actually still fine. By the way, do you like bacon? Do you like bacon in closed areas? Dalton, whole hog towards the end. Needs to stop it real quick. Heal on up, 80 HP, 40. Take that breath. You deserve it.
With that really drawn-out fight now, Envy are down to 1 minute and 15 seconds. They could have reset quicker and set up Buds for this blade. Now, with getting some of those ultimates out, like the whole hog, he has less to worry about coming in for this. Now, Envy, they have to be careful. Shu has been deadly with this Widowmaker, so even as Shiny jumps in with this Winston, he's going to take a lot of damage.
Well, the key here also is going to be Buds, right? Where what can you do with this blade? And he's able to get through mostly uncontested. Crackblock can actually really damage in the middle of it. Axiom now giving up his life. The tanks for Toronto Esports super low. This is the ideal situation for Buds to go in and have a time with it, but they let it go to passive instead. The tanks in Toronto are able to heal up. Crackblock sends up the self-destruct. Buds gets out of it. Crackblock can't get back in. The self-destruct goes against him. Tailspin though down. Buds, you're gonna pop the blade. Now it's time. Goes on in and gets blown up. Surprise! The tire was in there. Finds him. And Envy, they had such a huge edge, they let it slip through their fingers.
Self-destruct is going to get used, and it connects onto Cruz. So there is still a moment of vulnerability as we're down to the last 10 seconds. No one has respawned that can really touch it. Tailspin, there we go, has to get on in, but Shu shuts down fire, and now Envy might just get shut out here. No one's able to touch the points. No overtime. That's Toronto Esports holding on, taking the lead in this series.
And the crazy thing about that there is I don't think Envy realized the edge they had is that going into the middle of that fight, you had both Crackblock and Axiom super low. Buds was ready to go with the blade, and they just let Toronto retreat. They let Toronto regroup and bring that on back. Envy could have easily have taken that, and I just think they were unaware.
Yeah, was it you that predicted that Envy was going to take it?
I'm going for the overall series. I'm not just locked into it.
No, I asked for the map, and you said Envy, which means you now must dunk your head in a bucket of maple syrup. That is the Toronto law.
Sounds delicious.
What?
Oh, crap, it's not a punishment.
That's a
You're
punishment?
right.
Yeah.
Turn it. Now you must be
we're gonna maple
It's going to make my hair
feathery,
incredibly luxurious.
Yeah, maple and feather. There you go. That's what it's going to be. Instead of tar and feathering, we're going to maple and feather you. That is the price you must pay. But no, Toronto looked amazing. They really held their own.
Toronto looked much better. I mean, Shu, again, very consistent in the back. And this guy right here, this fight was not really going super well for Toronto. Dalton goes, actually, I have the cure for this. Goes on in, gives them a chance to come back over. And I'm going to say this now for Envy. Envy looks at their best when they're running things that are more projectile heavy, when they can run Pharahs, you can run Hanzos. I don't think they do pure dive super well right now. I don't think like Shiny in particular is a strong enough tank to make that work with Buds and Tail backing him up. I think they look at their best where they can go, use Buds on Widow, use Tailspin on the Pharah. Go to those subs because these pure dive subs of them just have not looked good.
And knowing that that's what they should be doing, what do you think they might pick for the next map?
I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing that they already have a game plan in place, so I don't think they're going to radically deviate from it. But if we go to Rialto, that would fit those compositions a little bit more. You see less of the pure dive on there, so I think something like Rialto would inherently favor them, so we'll see if they go for it.
It's true. We really don't know what's going to happen right now. You thought, or you're still standing by Envy taking the entire series, but yes. Toronto's kind of shaking things up right now. I might be quaking in my maple-filled boots if I were you.
Yeah, they're going to want to go to Rialto here, go for that Widowmaker and Hanzo kind of play, the double sniper, because right now you got to be able to shut down the Tracer, and they're not really able to do much up against Dalton. Whether he's on the Tracer or on the Roadhog, he has been having a really good series so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a resurgence for Dalton, right, where I would say the season has been a rather large decline for him overall in sort of game footage and crazy plays, where he was one of the standouts in Season 1 and, you know, been struggling here. But like I said, today has been sort of a return to form for Dalton, especially when he's been on Tracer, where, frankly, I've been seeing him Tracer more often, period. So, you know, you don't always have to play the Widow game, especially if it's not really one of your specialties.
And where better to show that you actually know what you're doing than towards the end when we're coming into the finals and people are really going to be starting to pay attention. So it's good that Dalton's starting to really come into his own again.
Yeah, and the key here for Toronto is that this is just practice for them, right? Practice against a hungry team that desperately wants to get the higher seeds. So if you're able to win this year, yeah, you don't get anything, but you sure feel a heck of a lot better as you go into playoff week.
And we will be going on to Watchpoint Gibraltar for our last map, or maybe not our last map if we go into a map 5. So what do you think we will be seeing from each team as we head into this tin can?
I mean, you could still play a lot of the Widowmaker and Hanzo on here, but you leave yourself still susceptible to a dive, which is what, you know, Toronto have been really thriving off of in this series. So I still think like this works in Toronto's favor.
I do actually like Gibraltar against Toronto just because Tracer does have a much harder time as you get into the second point in terms of mobility, where you can use verticality against her a lot. Dalton hasn't been on it as much recently, so there's a world where Toronto just gets stuck on second here versus Envy.
Well, will we go to a map 5 or will the series end right here, right now? Let's find out.
Well, Toronto, I think they know where their bread is buttered, and their bread is buttered based on dive. Dalton.
Bombs and blades.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the bees.
They're just like, why use the new meta? We can go back to the old. And the old is the new.
The thing is, like, I don't think anyone's ever proven that, like, dive has ever been weak. Like, it just persists through whatever meta. If you can execute it well, it is going to be a strong composition.
Well, the other thing, too, is that if you go off the premise that Envy just doesn't look as good when they're running Brigida, and dive makes the other team run Brigida, if you're... Oh, God, please. It's so bright. It's staring into my soul. But if dive makes Envy run Brigida, in a sense, you're kind of making Envy run something that you want them to run anyways, because you're getting them off their comfort zone to begin with.
Yeah, Tailspin has been getting a lot more practice with him, but it hasn't been enough. It remains to be seen. So the solo DPS for Envy, it is going to be Buds, and they're putting all of their eggs in that basket. Tailspin is going to try his best to control the divers coming out from Toronto Esports. We do have some swap-offs. It is going to be double sniper instead for Toronto Esports after they see this.
Toronto moving forward, keeping double sniping options open, and Envy says, yeah, you can bring the payload in the underpass. We don't really care. We're going to fight you further back.
Now, when it has been coming down to these Widow versus Widow battles, Buds, you would have to agree, probably the stronger Widowmaker.
Yeah, Bud certainly has been, but this, between the two, we haven't seen him on Widow as much today, just back on the first. He is able to get Crack-a-lackin' though.
Yep. As Crack-a-lackin', that is one of the weaknesses I was mentioning earlier, right? He does go pretty darn aggressive, and Team Envy really need to be able to punish that, and so they were able to. He gets his mech back pretty quickly, though, and so now the push will continue, but a minute's already been taken down.
Bud's still on the Widow right now, and now just holding on back, waiting for extra opportunities. And Toronto has not been as decisive here, where they're not running the dive that they've been having success on. They're running both the double sniper composition. And now you just look at the control room, Naxium going, what have I done to deserve this? But Nero fights his way back. Envy thought they had them, and it turns out it's Toronto that had them instead. Nero brings it back the other way.
But someone needs to push the payload.
Yeah. McGravy's like, you thought you'd push this, did you? So Envy's still getting another chance to delay this.
Yeah, and they'll be able to delay with some pretty good ultimates. Crimzo almost at that Transcendence, but it's going to be Fire that has that support ultimate for them. The Valkyrie almost in play. McGravy should be able to buy enough space and time with that self-destruct if he really wants to for Shiny to get that Primal Rage into play. And now here we go. Support ultimate's online as the contest comes out.
Envy looking for the long delay here. Shiny so close to Primal Rage yet so far, getting chunked shot after shot, 90%. But Buds gets Dalton on the other side. Envy doing the bulk of the heavy lifting here. They see a little bit more. Crack-a-lackin' unable to get the right position. They're going to get debacked here in a second. Still getting healed, but that's going to be it for his mech. Bud's Battle Widow. And hey, it's working. Shu going, I'm going to get you, and not quite.
Yeah, Shu somehow allergic to bullets and was able to just like deflect them all. Nothing really connecting while Buds tried to go for that SMG mode. Now, Toronto Esports are down to 1:30 here. And they weren't able to really drain much out of the bank of Envy. Now, it was both support ultimates, but they can try and, you know, delay it on out. Tailspin, he's got the rally, so they'll have like that passive armor going into the next fight. They've got Shiny with the Primal Rage who can peel for the supports if they take too much damage. Toronto need a crucial pickoff from Dalton or Nero right now.
I mean, Nero had his hero moment earlier. You just had won it again. Buds gets knocked super far back by Axiom. Axiom gets away with these deep dives, even gets fire, but Buds gets back in, gets both snipers on the return. Can't knock him all the way out, and Shiny going, chasing mercies, it seems fun. I'm going to do this as well, and Tailspin goes, nah, my kill.
KS. There we go. They are going to be able to clean up Toronto Esports. Really an easy effort so far coming out from the defense. Envy want to send this to a map number 5 right now in Toronto. They're finally going to get some extra tools, try and crack this open and keep the map alive. Nero, he's going to have that Dragon Strike, but the mobility of Team Envy makes it so difficult to actually convert onto elimination.
Oh, he got, got Shu, and given how much Shu does here, that's a rough early pick. Of course, they have to res it early on. Tailspin's down, though, and he was in a less resable position, so this actually works out. Be a 6-on-5 for Toronto. Now, bring it back. See a little bit of distraction from Shiny in the back. He has to move back the other way. Narrow, holding on the arrows, lanes it down to the point, but Gravy can let this one fly. Can get back into the mech. Self-destruct makes room. Remech comes on in, and Cracklacken can't get away. Toronto a little bit deep there, split up by the self-destruct. Buds under pressure, gets away. Gonna grapple perhaps up to the top as Envy's getting slot after slot here. It's working out for them. And now Tailspin back in the fray. They look a little bit more.
Now they are going to get the D-Mech once again onto Cracklacken, finish off Cruz and Dalton. And Toronto Esports are going to be stopped just short of the first checkpoint here.
Now,
Team Envy on the verge. They have the opportunity to tie this up.
The interesting thing for me is that even though Envy did get put in pretty conflict, they've been kind of hit or miss on. Toronto never challenged him with a full dive. Toronto still tried to go in with the more standard double sniper, and it just wasn't working out. Dalton has not really been feeling the Widowmaker at all, and I thought Toronto actually had the right idea in the beginning when they were showing signs of full dive. It's like, yeah, this is great. Just run this. This has been working for you. Forget the meta. Forget the rules. Write your own rules.
I was surprised, yeah, that throughout all of the first point that he didn't go over to the Tracer. They started off on the Tracer and Genji and then decided to go for the double sniper, but especially when the point gets to very much near the end of the checkpoint A, a sniper is a little bit more feasible. You know, you've got the high rises there to use, they've got the ramps that you can get up onto the high ground, and so it is easier to contest people who are up there. And now they put themselves really far behind as they have to weather the storm of Team Envy's offense.
And also, I mean, here's the thing here, too, where, there's this entire idea is like, okay, you don't want to shoehorn yourself to being one trick, but if your one trick is really good and it plays the audience that you're up against right now where they seemingly fall to that trick over and over again, just keep running it.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at how far Runway came when they were, initially starting off. They were just a Genji dive team off the back of Hawkstall and took them pretty darn far. It got them through the initial first season of Apex trials where they had to battle out, I think, like 300 teams, 400 teams just to make it into the first season of Apex. No one knew who they were, but they were able to dominate through off the back of just the one trick. It works if you're good enough at it.
Or old school LG Evil, which is that they ran quad tank before it was cool, and it was like, yeah, support super. Let them hammer everyone. That's fine, right?
Now, McGravy on the Diva will contest the high ground here. Team Envy, they're going to go for the double sniper themselves. It's Tailspin on the Hanzo, and Toronto will be matching them in that composition. Buds goes for that hook shot. It doesn't connect, but now he's starting to advance.
And Toronto giving plenty of space right now to Envy, as is custom here. You don't really see teams be super aggro on the defense unless there's a crazy reason for it. So Envy going to be pushing up with one. And the snipers, meanwhile, looking for pickoffs, make this early fight that much easier. Envy does not have far to go.
Good look. Buds starting to push up. But it's Nero who takes out Tailspin. I'm not entirely too sure where it is. There we go.
What's this nice angle? Yeah. Got Cruz. Ends up paying for it. But now where's Fire? Can Fire bring it? Oh, Fire goes, I'm going to bring it back up Hanzo. Buds, you can walk. So, Tail going to be more frontline here. Ooh, Shu got caught. Shiny's been freelancing in the back. Again, a lot of success. Toronto in a rougher spot. They punish Shiny. They drop the Dragon. Maybe that's enough to keep Envy at bay.
It at least buys them time for the respawns here so they can't come in and recontest as a full 6. But the payload is now making that final bend. Toronto Esports have to put a stop to this offense here and now. They're going to have the Valkyrie along with the Transcendence and the Self-Destruct.
By the way, touch payload is getting awfully close. That is the danger zone, and Kenny Loggins isn't involved. Transcend's gonna come out here from Shu. Toronto, they used that Transcend very early, and it seemed like Shu thought there'd be a bigger fight there than there was. Shu now in real trouble, getting poked down. He's out of there. Shiny finishes the job. Envy could not be healthier. Toronto getting poked down on all ends. Nero trying to fight back. Tail, mano a mano, and Tail takes it in the fight. McGravy ends it with a boom, and guess what? With this Mercy fallen, we're gonna be heading to a map 5. Also, he totally looked like he was on the point. Just not quite.
Envy heard you. They heard your cries. They wasn't really cries, but they heard your declaration, and they were like, you know what? We're putting this to a map 5. We still have a chance.
Yeah, I was crying like a newborn giraffe, whatever that sounds like. It's totally fine.
Did you know that giraffes don't actually make noises? They speak with their tongues?
Did not know that.
Well, now
Don't
you
we
know.
all speak with our tongues, though? I mean, that's...
You just got the look. She doesn't have to say anything. Like, it wasn't on camera, but she just gave me the stare of like, you messed up. I'm not even responding to you.
I love your innocent face. Your smiles at the camera, innocent face. Well, yes.
Your face was full of judgment.
Yeah, it was not full. It was about half full of judgment, which is all it needs to be. But Envy pulled it out. We're going to a map 5. You were expecting that, but I wasn't expecting that to be so quick.
I did think it would end in point B as opposed to point A, and part of that is that you can definitely get with the way of Tracer on point A. It's a little bit harder on point B. I thought that Toronto would at least play to their strength in the beginning, try and go for something that would carry them with momentum in the point B. But they went back to something that has not been as successful for them. They put a double sniper composition, Dalton on the Widow, and just wasn't a good run for Dalton there. And Envy was playing remarkably solid because also you don't have Envy playing dive, which they're not good at. Like, both these teams have very disparate strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, it was interesting to see the fact that it really didn't go very far, obviously playing to the weaknesses of these teams. But I'm looking forward to seeing what map 5 will bring us.
Map 5 will be interesting. I do think there's a world where it favors Toronto a little bit, but I still think Envy can find a way through. The thing for Toronto is that if they're looking at the flow of how this is going, just run dive. Run dive. What do you have to lose here? Just, you literally are locked in no matter what. Run your strength.
Yeah, I feel like this fight right here, where Nero was able to pop off with the dragon or with the storm arrows, kind of gave them a false confidence in that double sniper composition. They should have been swapping off at the 1 minute mark to try and go for that dive and have enough time to go for 2 really good pushes with a full dive composition. Now here on Ilios, this is going to be interesting because it is going to play towards, I would say, Bud's strength over Dalton right now with that Widowmaker.
Certainly on Ruins, but I do think there's a world where for the other 2 stages you can definitely get away without running Widow. You can just play compositions that are more ground and pound heavy. I just think the key here for Envy is that they shouldn't get baited in the running dive themselves.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's been good for them.
Do you think we're going to see some amazing Widow battles on Ruins? Because those are always my favorite.
I mean, amazing. It may be one-sided from what we've seen it to do with them here, unless Dalton just, finds his Widow magic at the last moment.
Well, that would be nice to see. Who do you think, going, this is our last prediction of the day, who do you think is going to take this series?
I'm no flip-flopper. I'm staying with Envy.
All right, yeah?
You know what? Yeah, I'll stick with Toronto. Let's go.
We are a split desk. It is official. Who will be dunking their head in maple syrup? Because those are the stakes.
I mean, as far as I know, I think she already said I had. I don't even know. We're going the Ruins.
Everyone's going to dump their head in maple syrup because it's delicious.
That's a lot of wasted maple syrup. That's wasting food.
I imagine it's also good for your skin. I don't know. There's a blog out there that it's going to tell you that.
All right, well, getting away from maple syrup and getting into Ilios, we will be looking at that Widow v Widow battle, so a lot of pressure here on Dalton as Buds goes to the smug purple lady once more.
Yeah, but on the opposite end for Envy, they're not going to go for the double sniper. McGravy is going back to his roots. He's going back to Tracer. So triple support, solo main tank, and Shiny.
I just hope this triggers Cruz to be like, oh, you want to go to your original role? It's time to bring out the Genji. Cruz, I want to believe. Think about your original popularity. Think about your time on Genji. But here's Dalton on the outskirts. Meanwhile, McGravy on Tracer. A lot of pressure being put on the Crackalakin early on. And Dalton got Buds. That's huge.
That is huge because they don't have a Resurrect. They don't have a Mercy. So Buds is just out of the fight. That allows Dalton just freely be on top of this column. Get some shots off, trying to get some shots off, but Crackalacken is cleaning up for his team, so that's good enough.
Dalton under pressure, but Toronto far better positioning here. Crackalacken though is demeched. Envy starting to get back onto that point. They're certainly wounded, but this is going on for so long that Envy gets another crack at it. Buds now lethal here once more on the Widowmaker. McGravy just being like, wait, how does this here even work? I don't even remember. Dalton picks up another 2, but we still have pressure on the point. McGravy's built up a pulse bomb. Gonna be looking at that Winston like he's a tasting snack. Pulse bomb up, backs up the other way, taken on down, and Toronto gets first control.
Toronto Esports, they just had all the extra damage mitigation with Crackalacken on that D.Va. They're shutting them down. Now Buds is swapping over to the Genji, so he doesn't want to deal with the Widow battles. I guess he just already lost confidence in it. He wants to go for the dive.
Part of that also is just that it's harder to come back into the attacking Widow, so I think they'd rather just pressure it on there, take advantage of the fact that Delta is in the best position. But Narrow on the Dragon shuts down Crimzo from the very back. Pulse bomb out from McGravy, not quite gonna connect. It's a man unleashed to the back line looking for Zed. Shu gets healed on up. Shu, a lethal weapon of destruction. Even as Axiom falls, Dalton has no one to pressure him, and Toronto continues to hold.
And now, after you use your Pulse Bomb, after you haven't been able to be that successful, McGravy, he's going to reset himself. He should be swapping back over to, or back onto the D.Va now. Shiny needs a bit more support. He needs someone to help him out and let him stay alive longer. Dalton with a great pickoff onto Tailspin.
Tail shouldn't have even been pickable there. That's a mistake on Tail in line of sight at that point, or at least line of sight with the shield not up. But it delays. It buys Toronto even more time. We'll see what Envy can do to somehow bring this back.
64% and ticking up for Toronto Esports. With all these swaps, they haven't been able to build up an actual ultimate bank now. They've only got the 2 as they jump on in. Crimzo has to use that Transcendence early.
Buds got Narrow early on. Dalton not able to find picks. A strike too swift here from Envy. Dalton split back to the other side. Envy, though, they lost Tail. Axiom's making up for lost time. iShiny's spending so much time chasing down Dalton that he's not with the rest of his team. He's not helping control. And look at this, the focus on the D.Va gets the D-Mech. Dalton knew exactly where to go there. And Toronto on the way to taking Ruins, which honestly plays Envy strengths more. But here's Buds. Last moment, Dragonblade gets 1 and shut down by Narrow.
Still, though, Envy are coming up with some eliminations as Shu has now fallen. There's still a chance for Envy to keep this point alive as Shiny is trying his best to focus on the Mercy, but that leaves him without an out. Here comes the Dragon Strike. Never mind, it's just Nero with an arrow from the top, taking him out. Toronto Esports want to close out this point as they start to rush forward.
Toronto just need a little bit more. The Widow play has put them over the top here so far. Narrow's had good arrow after good arrow. Envy struggling to breathe right now. Buds on the brink, Buds out of there. And now it's gonna be Toronto grabbing the round. They're 1 round away from taking the match.
And one person that we really didn't talk about throughout this series was Axiom, but we know that in a lot of these clutch situations, with that Winston, with the Primal Rage, he can frag out for the team. That's what he did here on Ruins. A part of that was also because, you know, throughout most of this map, most of that point, McGravy was on the Tracer, so he didn't have that, Shiny didn't have like that D.Va backup that Axiom had himself.
Well, I mean, I'd also argue in terms of tanks that Axiom has just generally been a stronger tank than Shiny. I would say that Shiny's tank play has been hit or miss, probably one of the weaker aspects of this team. So it's not surprising that Axiom has been able to make movement there, but now Toronto, this is a golden situation. They can win this with Tracer here. The key is just they need to contain Tail in the Pharah battle, where Narrow can be quite good at this, so we'll see what Tailspin does as we go to the Pharah v Pharah battle in the skies.
You know, we've also got a difference in the supports, actually. Fire going over to Lucio, while, of course, Shu is on the Zenyatta, so they're going to have that extra Orb of Discord debuff that they can use to try and finish down targets in the air. Neither Pharah is currently connecting with rockets, but it's in the ground at Buds, takes out Shu.
Tail was laying some rockets into the ground, but again, wasn't connecting too much. Buds and Dalton both getting 1 early on. Supports out of the fight. Cruzo getting the res. Both teams throwing out pretty evenly. Dalton now take the fight to the point. McGravy, though, better position. Tailspin just got a rocket to the face while that was going on, but Dalton on the wrong side. McGravy ends up falling. Envy just needs a little bit more here as Buds explodes. Both supports out of it. That's going to be Envy taking full control of this fight.
He's even got that Pharah on his mind. Wants to clean that up. There it is. Takes out Nero. So Envy, able to take control of the point first, even rezzing Shiny back into this. Now, Dalton's going to go ahead and swap off, so they want to deal with Buds. They just want to make sure he does nothing at all. So the Brigitte is going to be crucial in trying to control both Buds along with Shiny now as they try and jump into the back line. Nero, with this Pharah, hasn't found as many rockets yet. These Pharah battles still, no one really able to land the rockets onto each other.
Bud's super low, just barely rewinds the time deep in the enemy territory. The full-on distractions, trying to stop Toronto from getting set up. Nero playing the ground game in Pharah as Tailspin goes, let's play fighter planes. And nope, Tail actually playing ground game as well. Both Pharahs for a time ignoring each other, trying the balance between air and ground. Toronto desperately moving towards a point. Buds gets out of danger, but Shiny is down. Axiom gets away just barely, about to get Primal Rage, which will let him come back over. Axiom has the Primal Rage up. Envy, though, still control the point. There's the barrage from Tail, takes down 2, almost 3.
That was both supports too, so Team Envy still have a chance at actually getting back into this. Now as they have their supports being able to pocket each other, but because they're doing that, Tailspin receives no heals, he will fall.
Shiny's back in though, it's time to drop the beat. Fire helping it back out. The tanks for Toronto, unable to clear out Envy in time. The supports have not gotten back there. Nero, so low, unable to fly to support. And Envy brings it back, one fight away from taking the Lighthouse.
Now all the support ultimates will be online for Toronto. They're gonna need it for this retake because they are so far away. Someone needs to touch the point. Tailspin's gonna be able to just pepper away at them as they just try to even approach. Luckily for Toronto though, Envy have nothing in the way of ultimates.
Nero holding on to the barrage, needs to get away from Tail, find a good moment for the barrage. Almost takes down Tail with 2 rockets. Hot pursuit, needs one more. Tail in danger, Tail still alive. Crimzo, though, falls. Drews takes advantage of the splash outs. Drews takes down both. Battle Mercy. There it goes, but wait, I still have my barrage. Toronto getting the best of this because of that air battle win. They retake the point, but they don't have much buffer.
Yeah, Cruz just got a little bit,
He's like, can I go Genji now, guys, please?
Days of Neptuno. A little impatient, just wanted to end the battle there. So now, Toronto Esports, they have a chance to close this out. Remember, it is tied up 2-2. Toronto Esports want to put another W under their belts here. They can do it by securing this. And they'd only really won out that team fight because there's just the power difference. Envy had nothing in their bank. They had no support ultimate. They had no ultimates whatsoever. Tailspin gets tagged, but he does have Crimzo there to keep him alive. Crimzo's starting to get focused down now. He's already down to half HP, but he will be able to make it over to the health pack.
Ooh, big rockets wins. There's Nero, slam dunks Tailspin right from above. However, Axiom falls in the fray. This still could work out well for Envy. They go to the point. Nero's barrage gets absolutely nothing done. McGravy nullifies it. While that's going on, Raven was nullifying, Cracklacken was eliminating in the back. A better trade for Toronto to be sure. They hold on.
And Toronto Esports are looking to put themselves in a really great spot now. We're in that 2-fight territory. If Team Envy take too long in one fight, it might just be over then and there. We got 3 ultimates online for Team Envy as they've got the self-destruct. So Nero just has to be careful with his positioning and not get caught out by that. By enough time for the supports on Toronto
she almost has Transcendence. He needs to not die here. Gets the Transcendence just barely in time. That was on a razor's edge. Rally now coming up for Toronto. Tailspin to the sky. Shiny under pressure. Tailspin looking for rockets right now. Look at Shen. Still taking fire to fire, but he makes it work. Found Dalton on the other side. Tailspin has the barrage. How ballsy are you? He's got to move in, and he drops a barrage. Gets enough. 2 down. He falls. Rez still able to come on in. They dropped the barrier to be sure, and that actually, it could haunt them, but it's a last fight anyway, so it's still probably fine. Tailspin though, blown up. Cruz comes on in, but the points. He's like, but I DPS'd.
He was able to get Tailspin there, but it might have been better served just getting on to the point instead. And so now it is coming down to the final point here on Ilios to decide this series. It's gonna be well. We'll see if teams try to go for that Orisa Hog or if they're just gonna stick with, you know, what we've known in Overwatch for the last, what, year and a half now, 2 years now, the Diva and the Winston.
Ooh, this is an interesting change-up by, oh, never mind. I thought they were gonna go with Pharah, Genji, and I could see it here in the sense of, you know, you run the Pharah v Pharah and then let Bud just pressure Dalton. I actually, normally I'd be going to Envy being like, I don't like this, but I also don't really like Widow a lot on the stage. It's difficult even for the best of Widows, and given that Dalton has struggled, though his Ruins was good, I don't know if I'm a fan of this look here from Toronto. We'll see if it pays off, but I think Envy's ground and pound strategy with a little bit of flash in the Genji could be better.
Yeah, already they've made their way into the back line of Toronto. Toronto just stood there and took it, but Axiom was able to punish Tailspin. It's a 1-for-1 exchange as Nero cleans up a second. And so Toronto Esports just bend back. They get the poke damage in, but Buds takes out Crackalakin.
It's been a better thing for Envy in terms of taking down tanks. No one's in the front line now to help Toronto as much. Axiom getting back into it, got Buds, but Shiny just loops around. The tanks from Envy are getting a lot more space right now. See Shiny getting healed back up as Envy gets first control. And I think right now, if you're Dalton, you go Tracer, and that's exactly what he does.
Yeah, but they have to reset here. The point has already gone over, but Crackalakin is able to punish Shiny. So there is a moment as Tailspin tries to get on top of Shu, has to use that recon. It's McGravy who takes him out with the booster rockets.
This is still good here. Dalton wins the Tracer on Tracer, coming back the other side. Gets the play on his bread and butter. Nero in the top right now, not much in the way of the challenge too much rocket-wise, but goes down to 20 HP, super low. Crew's gonna fly on over, and now Nero gets to come back the other way. It's not too bad. Buds, though, about to get a blade, got Axiom in the back, and might not even have to pull it here just yet, even as Nero's just looking for targets.
He is now hunting down the Pharah. It looks like Toronto will go ahead and reset themselves. And for Team Envy, the point was in their control. Ooh, Buds gets picked off there.
That was so deep, and I'm not even sure why. Shu's just like, yeah, you might want to get out of our territory. Buds making a crucial mistake there, and now Toronto ready to come back the other way.
51% Pulse Bomb is out. It does not connect from Dalton, so we'll see if Tailspin can connect. Now he's on the hunt for this Mercy, and remember, that Mercy doesn't have that same out. He doesn't have the high ground, or excuse me, the air that he can take as the blade comes out. Transcendence is used, though.
Buds is brought back to the fray. Dragon Blade out. The Transcend gonna mitigate it. It's a bit of a trade, but here's Fire. He can drop the beat, but it's not gonna get everyone. Buds fell before that could be dropped, so it's hardly a full strike sound barrier here. See Axiom getting focused down. Primal Ranger, no. Needs to be a little bit madder to get out of there alive. Ends up falling. Envy still in control.
Yeah, they're about to tick it up. Might even get like 90% here if they keep people onto the point. Tailspin trying his best. It's 85. That enemy take, but it leaves Toronto with very little margin for error here. They have to hold on to the points.
No, you got Buds onto the Far here, so they will have a little bit of Far v Far, but it's a little bit weird given their histories. You think it'd be flipped between Buds and Tail.
Well, no more, because Nero has since swapped off onto the Brigitte, really trying to deal with Tailspin now. And so, yeah, they do have that aerial superiority for Team Envy.
Gravy coming back in, self-destruct and reserve. Envy playing this on the little bit slow side. Again, trying to focus tanks. See Crackalakin eating a big chunk of damage there. Axiom already almost down. The tank focus strategy in play, but Crimzo ends up falling, but it's Tailspin to the back. Pressure onto Shu from Shiny. Works on out. And now, you see Axiom come back in the fray. Toronto still has their tank. Shiny, Primal Rage, looking for Mercy. Lost sight of Mercy in the middle of it, and this is a rough sell to try and get her off of this, but still manages it in the end. Wings out for Cruz, but Envy's still in trouble to bring this back around.
Yeah, Crackalakin just zoning everyone out with this Diva now. He had to use that self-destruct just to get back into his mech. But Dalton gets tagged. That's a direct rocket with the damage boost, but Toronto, they weather the storm and they hold on for now. They're at 65%. Here's Dalton's gonna go ahead and swap off, so they've got the answer for Buds, who's now finally on that Pharah.
Buds a little bit further back. Envy looking for their chance back in 85-75% in play. Playoff seeding very much at stake here for Envy. Buds built up the barrage, has a Diva in his face. Not the ideal time, but he's gonna wait for the Matrix to start going down. The Gravy getting chunked while this is going on. Envy starting to lose some of their time here to go in. Crackalakin still looking at Buds, still trying to isolate him. McGravy got low but got on out. Dalton's picked off, and Envy gets on the point. As Toronto now struggling to find way back in. There's a barrage looking for Axiom, and Axiom uses the Primal Rage, manages to survive through most of it, but he's hurt, and Buds is down.
Yeah, Dalton got rezzed throughout all of that, and so with Buds gone, it's gonna be so difficult for them to try and come back. Now, we do have the rally out for Nero, but it's not gonna be enough to keep Crackalakin in his mech. He's still alive as the baby Diva is now. The point did get flipped for Team Envy. Self-destruct is gonna be used here as Tailspin cleans up Shu, and now Toronto Esports, they are out almost. Both supports are gone. They don't have any more sustain. Team Envy slowly starting to burn away at them.
Toronto desperately trying to stay on end. Croclock can get a fall. Shiny King lasts a little bit. Tailspin punched by Narrow, but the overwhelming advantage here that Envy. They solidify on the point. They take Ilios. They take the series, but Toronto made them fight for every last little bit of it.
We really ran the full gambit on this series. We went to 3 points on the 5th map. Like, my goodness, what an exhausting day of Overwatch. But it was fun.
Yeah. I mean, we started off with a series that, you know, we weren't completely happy with, I would say, right? We didn't see the best looks coming out from, like, Energy earlier on today, and then we had one firecracker of a match in between, like, bye week in the middle, and then this one to finish it all off. It was a really good day that ran the range.
Yeah, it was interesting to see. I feel like we really saw both teams fight tooth and nail. It wasn't a stomping on either side, which makes me look forward to the next season and look forward to the finals as well, because we will be seeing some amazing play come out of these teams.
Now note here what this means for Envy. This victory was actually very impactful for them because it means that they don't have to go up against Gladiators Legion in the first round, where that's not an easy task. And Legion have been quite good. Instead that they get the surging but comparatively easier run of LNL.
Absolutely, and oh gosh, Dalton plays so amazing, so good.
Dalton definitely had some good moments here. This is probably some of the better his Widow has looked all season long, but overall, still throughout the series, his Widow did struggle. And it was just weird that Ilios played out this way, because if anything, Envy's victory you would have thought would have really hedged on a victory on Ruins, but instead they were able to do it on the other two sides, including one where Dalton got to play Tracers. So it was a little bit weird how things ended up.
Getting the better of Buds on the Widowmaker is kind of a, you know, nice little tip in your feather in your hat there, but ultimately, yeah, I feel like he just wasn't able to carry hard enough, as Buds shows that he can play this Tracer too.
It seemed that Buds and Dalton switched on their heroes. Dalton really popped off on Widowmaker and Buds popped off on Tracer, so they were each other's equals.
It was very interesting how it worked out, but of course, for Toronto, I think this is very positive. They looked better than they have in a very long time. This is something where they could chalk up as a win, because really nothing was at stake for them here. Now, of course, other teams in the group might look at them and be like, wow, you really didn't do us any favors there, Toronto. Envy got pushed to the limit. It's probably a wake-up call for some of the comps they ran that weren't effective. And we'll see what the teams do as they prepare for playoffs starting in just a week.
My goodness, so close. Are you guys excited to see what playoffs will bring us?
It's going to be pure chaos. We're going over to a new patch, 1.26, new sim. Wrecking Ball is now activated, and I believe there's also the damage drop-off changes. Yes. So McCree and Soldier 76 buffed, while Widowmaker is nerfed a little bit.
Yeah, Widowmaker has a longer grapple cooldown. Also, I think she's kind of nerfed by consequence by the fact that McCree's and 76's can apply more pressure to her, where they won't be a counter per se. Widow still has the edge, but the amount of margin for error you have, where right now it's like McCree versus Widow, you have basically all day to land a shot. You have a little bit less time in the post-patch world.
Right, as we prepare